So we are about to study the last class of the Aleph Bet classes. Right now, as of last time, we learned all of the letters that existed in the first day of creation. And what I wanted to show you that I think is kind of fascinating is that these letters that we see here are the ones that didn't exist in the first day of creation. But it's not just the first day of creation. It's also that many of these letters didn't exist anywhere in the first or second creation story. When I first saw that, it kind of blew my mind. Why are these sounds not in the creation story? I like to see, as you've noticed, that it's the creation of the world is kind of like you're seeing a baby being created. And so the sounds you hear are baby sounds and things like that. But I was surprised to see these letters, the sounds that aren't there. This is the fact that we have a lot of letters here. It shouldn't be very scary to you because you already know most of them, not just because we were doing the Aleph Bet song. And so you've heard them a bunch of times, you've heard their names, but also because there are parts of these letters that you really have been exposed to already. So what I wanted to do today is I'm clicking on the Exodus Decalogue. I wanted to show you this. So the letters that are in orange, look at all these black letters. The letters that are in black are all the letters that you can already read or hypothetically already read. We've already done them. So I'm going to make this bigger. And instead of using the text and doing the ba 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 bee boo boo stuff, I want to just show you how you can read this. I'm doing this slightly differently than we did the Wednesday morning class. I wanted to show you how you can read some of these things. And as we come to a new consonant, I'm going to show you how you probably can guess. Being a good reader sometimes in any language is being a good guesser. So I wanted to show you a little bit how you can guess. And I wanted to show you what we've got here. So this teeny tiny bet, remember we're in Exodus, we're chapter 20, we're starting with verse 2. And that's what this bet means. Bet means verse 2. Aleph, bet, each letter also has a numerical value. So bet means 2. And the trope marks are still there. Let's take a look. So the first consonant, and I'm going to make it bigger and bigger. The first consonant is open in all directions. That's an Aleph. And the vowel underneath it is this one that says ah. And then we have a narrow nose nun, the bottom is a nostril with the O dot going over it. And then we have something orange, which means that it is not a consonant that you've had before. But the truth is you've had a similar consonant. So if I draw it, and I'll make it not be orange, if I draw the consonants that you've already seen, you have already seen this letter. That was when you take the palm of your hand, you curve it, and you make a Khaf, which means palm. That's the same word that you have for a spoon. A teaspoon is a Khaf also. And you've also had the final Khaf. So this is actually a Khaf. So what happens is this, you curve your hand and then you clear your throat. That's the Khaf. But if you put a Khaf drop in it, then you calm the cough and you get a K sound. But the final Khaf, which looks like, let's see if it's going to give me my spotlight. The final Khaf, which is here, is what it looks like when it comes at the end of a word. It's here, it's there. I like to think that you take, so that's the Khaf, not this one here is a Khaf and not a Khaf. If I take this out, you're going to make it exactly the same way as you made. Whoop, this is supposed to be an eraser now. Please be an eraser. It does want to erase. You're very kind. Thanks so very much. That's very not nice of you. Clear all the drawings. No, you're not going to. That's delightful. Wait, now I'm an eraser. There you go. It erased everything. I didn't want it to erase everything. It is not cooperating today. So we're going to do this. The Khaf is drawn like this. Sometimes it's more curved, but it's a Khaf. And it sounds like Kha. So this word, that's the important thing right now, is knowing how to sound it out. It doesn't matter if you can name these letters. It just matters if you can sound them out. So I'm going to try one more time. I think it's just lagging or something. It's not cooperating. So this first word we have is a, no, and then you have the Khaf with this vowel, and this vowel is the E vowel, anochi, anochi. Anochi is a fancy word for I. There's another word for I, which is just ani. Don't try to predict what the vowels are for that because it's not going to help. But anochi is kind of a fancy, we like to think of it as fancy. It's not. In biblical Hebrew, we sometimes have this impression that every time God is speaking and God says I, that it's always anochi, but it isn't. But because it's in the Decalogue as anochi, people think that when God speaks as God, that it's I. So anochi is I, and there's this wonderful story I love to tell. You remember when we did the Genesis story, in the first day of creation, the very first letter of the Torah is a bet. And so there's this wonderful story that's in the Talmud about why did God create the world starting with the letter bet? And the way the story goes is that all the letters, each of the letters begged God to start the world through them. And so it starts at the end of the Aleph Bet. It starts with the letter Tav, and they says, "Oh, the Tav says, please God, please start the world through me, because I start words like Torah." And you know how important the Torah is. It's the instructions for the humanity, and you give it to the Jewish people, and blah, blah, blah. And God says, no, I'm not going to start the world with a Tav, because you also start the words like, Toeva, which is like a sin. It's other kinds of things. So and it goes like that all throughout the whole thing. Usually, if we had more time, I would read that story to you, because I have a copy of it that's gorgeous with illustrations by Ben Shahn. So maybe one day on our Wednesday thing, we'll just do stories. But it gets all the way backwards, each letter trying to plead their case until it gets to bet, and the bet says, God, please start the world with me. I start words like bracha, blessing, and that's important, blah, blah, blah. And God says, yes, you're right. Let's start the world with bet. And then the Aleph, God notices the Aleph is just sitting in the corner being silent. It's an Aleph. It's being silent. And God says, Aleph, why didn't you beg your case? Why didn't you ask to have the world started with you? And Aleph said, well, I was waiting my turn, and then you gave it to Bet. I'm not going to try to take it away from Bet. Bet seems very deserving. And God said, well, because you were so patient, I will start the Decalogue with you. And you start words like humility, anivut. And so anyway, so the Decalogue starts with Aleph, the world starts with Bet, and the word is anochi. Anochi. I hope everybody's seeing it. The accent's here. You can tell because that's where the trope mark is. Anochi. And the next word is, it's not spelled like this. It's spelled Yud He Vav He in the Torah. I have it like this because if you printed this out and you used it for other things, then you could stick it in your pocket. And I believe very strongly in the commandment about not taking God's name in vain. And that includes having pieces of paper that have God's name on it. And then what do you do with it? So if I just write the hey with the chupchik on it, then you can stick it in your pocket. Anochi Adonai, and the next word is Elohecha. The cha ending is going to be an important thing to remember. You don't have to remember any of these words. All you have to do today is be able to sound everything out. Elohecha, but you're going to see cha happening a lot of times. Here's a cha, here's a cha. I mean, just on the little bit that we have here, here's a cha. The cha means you or your individual. It's masculine singular. We're going to call it masculine singular. One day I'll tell you why I don't see it as exclusively masculine singular, but let's just think of it as masculine singular today. So I am Adonai, your God. Anochi Adonai Elohecha. The next word is Asher, and you can imagine it's going to have a really fancy melody, Asher, because it's got squiggly, squiggly, squiggly. The important thing for you to think about when you think about the trope is, where's the accented syllable? Is it going up and down? Is it pointing to a word or a backwards or whatever? But then it says, so we have the Khaf, then it says ho, and then we have this next letter. So again, this is a letter that you've already learned, but you learn the final version of it. So the version that we're learning now, the final version looks like this, and it goes below the line, and that's a final tzadee. This is a tzadee. I like to call it the twisted pretzel letter. And you write the block something like this. As you can tell, it's going to go something like this. Zoop, zoop, zoop. in very thick letters. So that's a tzadee. I love the video that you're going to see from the tzadee, where the video, which is going to look like this. I'm going to take this away for a second. I have to turn into a mouse again. If you click on this and you go to the tzadee, the video is going to be here. It's the show me video lesson. It's adorable because I find a pretzel and I find an actual pretzel and I put it on there and I show you why the tzadee looks like a pretzel, which is way better than if I tried to draw a pretzel on here with my mouse. So watch the video. It's one of my favorite ones. It's one of the first ones that I did where I did this multimedia and I superimpose this picture and then you have to wait until the video catches up and then you get, anyway, it's still really fun. But watch them. That's what these things are for. And then we come here. And then what I had done, remember, was I clicked on this Exodus Decalogue, and that's where we are here. So that's the tzadee, and that's the vowel. So it's ho. Oh, I didn't show you. I want to show you also, as we're doing this, I showed you how to draw it in the block letters. The tzadee in cursive is kind of fun. I'm going to show you my block. So the square is going to look like this. And the letter is going to look like this. Sorry, that's not the color. So sometimes people make it go a little bit above the line, but I don't usually. And it looks like that. That's a tzadee. Don't tell me it looks like anything you recognize, because the thing you recognize doesn't start with its sound. So it will drive me crazy if you do that. But it does. It looks like this. Sometimes it goes above the line, a little bit. But that's what the tzadee looks like in cursive. We'll clear that, get it out of the way. All right, so the word then is ho, tse. This aleph, this is really important to remember. You want to find a consonant, vowel, and now we have a consonant and there's no vowel at all. That means that it's really part of this vowel. So so it's going to be ho, tse, t, the tav, which is attached to the top with the tail or toe at the bottom left. And then you've got the I dot, sorry, not I dot. You've got the dot, that's the nose squeaky dot. And then they bend the ear, yud, hotse ti, cha. I told you we're going to see a lot of chas coming up. Hotse ti cha. I am Adonai your God who brought you out. Hotse ti cha. If you're listening, some of you are going to be better at reading. Some of you are going to be better at understanding the vocabulary. If you're good with understanding vocabulary, you may recognize that the word hamotzi lechem, hamotzi is from the same root as hotzei ticha, as I brought you out, hamotzi and hotzei ticha. And then it says me eretz, and we learn that haaretz and eretz, these are the same words, me eretz from. Now, this is going to be cool. I told you that there are some guidelines about pronunciation. And I told you always look for where the trope mark is if you're looking at scriptures. But I also told you that if you see two es together, then the accent's on the first f. But we have three es together here. So what do we do then? And the answer is, it's these two that are going to count. The me is a prefix. You may not have known that. Pretty soon you'll know. I mean, if you see the word eretz, you know eretz means land, and you'll know that what came before it is the prefix. So it's me eretz, from the land. Mitzrayim, that's Egypt. From the land of Egypt, there's a bar on the bottom, base goes beyond ball in the belly, bet, mi beit avadim, mi beit avadim. Tell me if I'm going too fast, if you're not getting these. Some of these are review of some of the letters we'd already had. I'm trying to teach you the new ones as we're just going through. Now we've got a whole sentence here where there's no new letters, and I'm just going to go through it. So stop me if there's anything you don't know. So we have lo yihye lecha Elohim acherim. I'm going to keep going, move it over. I hope this is big enough for you to see. And then it says al panai. Al panai. Let me know if you need me to translate where we're going, but that's a whole sentence of only sounds that we'd already have. And then we say lo, and you'll notice it's the same word as here. And that's a word, by the way, that means no. lo. And then it says ta, and then we have a new letter. So this letter is not so very, very new because we've already seen this one. We've seen it looks like this. If the dot is on the right, then we like to say she's always right. Why do we like to say that? Because she is always right. Just say, no, just kidding. Because that's where if the dot is on the right, then it's a shh sound. But if the dot is on the left, remember I told you that if you take your 3 fingers and you put it in front of your teeth and you let sound come out of it, the dot's on the right, it's a shh. But the dot's on the left, it's a s. So you're getting sound to come out of that instead. So I'm going to take my eraser. We're going to be lazy here. I'm going to take away that dot. And then I'm going to put a dot on this side instead. And I'm going to say, whoop, don't go away. Where'd you go? I'm going to say, it's no sin to be a lefty. There you go. Come on back. Sometimes it doesn't like a dot. There you go. It's no sin to be a lefty. It's not a bad thing to be a sin in Hebrew if that's the name of the letter. But this one sounds like s. And the cursive is exactly like the cursive. Well, that's 2 lines down, but it should be a little bit higher up. So the sin looks like this, where the shin would have the dot on the other side. That's the cursive. So this one says, turn you back into a spotlight. I'm asking a lot of this thing, but it's cooperating so far. So it says, lo ta a se, and that hey is silent. Ta'ase, lo ta'ase, lecha, which is the same word as this, lecha. And then we have, remember, if you take your fangs and put it over your lip, it's a Pheh, that's the Pheh, Pheh. And then we have this. I like to call this one the circular Samekh. So this is this 2 letters here. They both sound like what we would call in English the letter S. I don't have to have 2 of the same consonant sounds in Hebrew. God didn't need 2 of the same sounds to create the world. So they're not identical. They weren't originally identical, at least, but they have kind of turned into identical for most, at least English speakers. We have only one S sound. We have a few letters that'll make an S sound, like the C, like the word city, sounds like the same kind of S potentially as in the word south. But in Hebrew, they had a different sound, and some people will make them have different sounds. It depends a little bit on what your language background is. Remember we talked about how there's 2 kinds of T sounds, that there's the T where you take your tongue and splat it up against the top of your mouth. And then you have the dainty T where you have just the tip of your tongue and put it behind your teeth. It's something similar with these, that this one is the daintier one, I think. And this one is the thicker one. So we've got 2 different S sounds, but the reality is you don't have to make them be different S sounds because no one is going to hear the difference. Just about, not certainly most of the language speakers you're going to speak with in Hebrew. So you can make it be the same S sound if you want. Lo ta'aseh, lecha. And so this word is fesel, 2 S, the accent on the first one, fesel. And then we're going to keep going until we get to our next new letter. V'chol, that's a ch, that's a new sound. Te, mu, na. I'm going to move over. Ready? Well, so we can, hold on. Let's go down and take a look. Where's our next new consonant? It doesn't come for a really long time. We could do all of these, and I have no problem reading them all. But let's see if we make sure that we've learned all of the new letters. So I think the next one is in the line that is called line Chet, which is line 8. And this is our next one. This one is, and this one is fun. This one, if we draw the box, then you might see that this, if I draw it around here, you'll see that this letter, well, that's not a good one because I shouldn't have made it that high. It should go on the box over here, and then it should come here, and it should be that the box, the letter only takes up about half of the box. And when you're drawing it, it's going to be something like this, where I'm going to say the zig, zag, Zayin. Some people, when they write it in block, they make it curvy instead of angular. zigzag Zayin. But it's half of the width of another letter. You'll notice here's another letter that's skinny, but it doesn't look like a zigzag Zayin. The zigzag Zayin has lots of angular things happening. The cursive for a zigzag Zayin goes like this. It takes up a whole box, but it goes, I like it. That's a Zayin. And then I will tell you, is everybody old enough to hear this? I have to whisper this. So colloquially, in Israel, the letter, if you say the name of this letter, if you say Zayin, it can also refer to, so it used to refer to like the bayonet of the dagger part of the bayonet of a rifle, or a dagger. It's shaped like a weapon, but that's not the only thing that they thought it was shaped like. It also can refer to a penis, or there are more colorful words we can call it in Yiddish, but let's just have said that and we're done with it. But I can tell you that when I was in Israel and I was 18 years old to 19 years old, with all of the other people there, the guys loved using that word and saying, I've got a big Zayin. And we all said, yeah, keep it to yourself, dude. We don't care. So, but just know that that can be used like that. If you ever hear the word, be careful. Okay. So, so this word is Zachor. Zachor. And that word means remember. It's a command to remember. What are we remembering? Zachor et Yom HaShabbat. Remember the Sabbath day. Remember Shabbat. Yom is day. We remember that. Shabbat. All right, so I'm going to take it out again so you can see where our next letter is. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat. And then we get to one of our favorite letters. Why is it our favorite letter? You'll see. Because it should be familiar to you. You should have seen this before. Anybody played dreidel for Hanukkah, and you should recognize this letter, because if you get this letter, then you win. Dreidel, the Gimmel is the winning letter. So you also should know this one, because if you've ever sung the Aleph Bet Vet song, then you remember Gimmel Dalet Hey. You may not, after it gets past the second line, it may get muddier, but Aleph Bet Vet, you should know those three letters. Gimmel Dalet Hey, you should know those. And there's two dreidel letters in there, we're just saying. So this should take up only about half of the box. I wanted to point out that it is a Gimmel, and remember that all of these letters were used to be pictographs. This is kind of how we're going to draw it, with a gap at the bottom. I call it the gap at the bottom Gimmel. You may think that it looks like, we'll show you what it might look like later. It's not on my screen right here, but it's a gap at the bottom Gimmel. And I wanted to point out that if it was a pictograph, then, whoop, you're supposed to be a skinny thing here. Okay. It's supposed to do, come on, be a thing. Let me draw, be a thing. Nope, it's being an arrow. It's supposed to look like, why is it not? It's not fun. Okay, I may have to trick it into doing what I need it to do. We'll keep trying. I'll keep, it seems to, there are times when it's lagging what it is that it is on here, and that's being an arrow. So we may have to do this. I can trick it into this. Anyway, it's supposed to look like a camel, a gamal. So watch the video, it's in there. And it's not going to let me draw yet. So that's okay. We can keep learning. We don't mind. I bet it's not going to clear my drawing either. Clear my drawing, clear my drawing. It's not going to do any of those things. It's not going to let another. Am I lagging? Or are you hearing me? You're hearing me. Okay. So we have the Gimmel. Here comes a problem. I'll tell you what, let me just stop the share for a second, and that'll eliminate all of these problems for a moment. I'm trying to join on the other device now too. And that's not working very well either. Maybe it's, well, I don't know. All right, let's try this again. Sharing my screen. Back to this. We eliminated those things. Let's see what we've got. Annotating, drawing. I don't know if it's worth trying again. We're going to Gimmel. If I can, I'll come back out and I'll show you the the other things. This is another letter that you should already know, because in fact, we just read it. If you take your fangs and put them on top, then you get a final Pheh. The final Pheh is a shape of a letter that only comes at the end of a word. Notice that it goes below the line. We remember that the letter Pheh means mouth. When you take your lip and you put it above your bottom lip, and then the Pheh has no dot, and the Pheh has to have a pill in it, and this has no pill. So it's a final Pheh. These words are lo, tin, af, lo, tin, af. So this is the shape of a Pheh when it comes at the end of a word. And that is the last of the letters. The fun part, though, is I want to show you how to draw these letters. I started to. Let's see if it'll let me. Okay. So let's start with the Gimmel. I'm going to put it over here and you'll see why, because it's a gap at the bottom, Gimmel. I'm not going to try to change my drawing tools. I'm just going to try to do this like this. And you can see that it was a gamal, a camel. Okay, that's my gamal. And then I wanted to show you that the Gimmel in cursive looks like this. And as I showed the other class, because this is one of my favorite words to draw, this, remember, that's the Zayin. And uh-oh, where did it go? Let's go to redo. Where did you go? Where'd all my drawings go? Let's do it like this. Oh, that's so cool. What just happened? Oh, all right. So that's the sneak up on it. Maybe it'll work. Sneak up on it. Maybe it'll work. I say redo. There you go. And then I say undo. And then, okay, say redo. Come on, redo. Okay. I don't care. We'll put it somewhere. We'll do it here. This is, yeah. So this one on the right is a Zayin and the one on the left is a Gimmel. And I changed the color so you could see what else I'm working on here. I like this because this word, Zayin, Gimmel, means a couple. So let's say we have a couple with a long hair person and a short hair person here, la, 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 la. Sideburns, maybe, I don't know. So we've got a couple. The word for couple in Hebrew is zug. And I just love the way it looks in cursive Hebrew. So this is how I remember which one of those letters is going to the right and which one is going to the left, because the word zug goes in that direction. Isn't that cute? All right, so now I got the gamal out of the way and I got the zug out of the way. Let's see if I can clear my drawings. I can. Okay, good. So you should now be able to read anything at all that we put in front of you, including this whole, anything, prayers, Torah, anything at all we put in front of you. And I think that that's kind of cool. We can go back to looking at this lesson. So let me show you a couple of other things that exist. But we can go back to looking at the lesson and practicing some of the other words. But I think that getting to see that whole thing and getting to know that you can read the whole thing, and if you'd like, we still have time, we can read through. I wanted to show you a couple of other things that exist. So this Aleph Bet chart is one that is with all of my mnemonic devices on it, so that it's a book form. It's a font, but it's kind of a block form. This is what it would look like in cursive from my font. I didn't hand draw those. This is its name, and I write it in English characters and in Hebrew characters. This is the way we transcribe the sound. There's an apostrophe there to show that there's a little bit of a sound, not a whole vowel sound, and shows the number. The fun part is it's open in all directions. It's silent. Then you have a bar on the bottom and a base goes beyond and a ball on the belly or the belly button, and all of the same things for every single one of the consonants. In case you ever need to remember them, that's here. That's on this web page right here, the Rabbi Jana Aleph font. Then we have the many Hebrew fonts, and I showed this to you before because when you learn another language, when I was trying to teach my kids how to read English, I realized that there are especially some consonants or letters that don't look the same as what you saw it look like in first grade or kindergarten or whatever. Like take the letter G and try to find a lowercase g, and every single font you're going to see it at is going to look different. And it's not even always the way that it looked like when you learned how to draw to write the letter G. So look at some of these funky fonts. I mean, so you've got a fairly standard font here. It's a serif font. Serif means it's got these little chupchiki things on it. Like this is a serif font. This is a serif font, but this is a sans serif font. So it doesn't have the extra little hooks and things on it. And then you get to some that are like, look at this serif on there. That's kind of crazy. It's got backwards and forwards things. Then you've got this one, which looks like a Torah script. Then you've got this one, which is not quite Rashi script, but closer. But anyway, I thought it would be helpful to see a character set that's got a whole bunch of fonts. So that's why I give that to you. Yes, Berta.
Are you saying the same word that you say? Oh no, that's chick something.
Oh, chupchik.
The little,
yeah.
chip. Okay.
So the serifs are, I mean, you know, in English, what the serifs would be. I don't think I've got, so these are sans serif fonts because they don't have, you know, like the little fancy schmancy things that go on your letters. I don't think I have anything here with serif on it. You know what I mean, though. I could try to draw you a serif thing, but this is a sans serif font. Like Times New Roman is a serif font. So if you do the letter T, it's going to have little bulby things on the end of the cross parts, and it's going to have a bulby thing on the bottom, and it's going to have a hook on it and stuff, as opposed to this is straight. So I have here a test for the Aleph Bet. I'm not going to test you. There is no grade in this, but I have a test for this. You can play with that. And then I have, this is one that I actually used for a college class. Kids did get credit for that. This is the answer for the practice test. So you can try to test yourself and see, oh, there's a serif font right there. See, it's got little things, bulby things and stuff on the ends. That's a serif font. Hebrew has serifs and not serifs. So, but there's also this, and this is kind of fun, the Google slide practice of all of the letters. So if you look at this, let it load. It's going to advance automatically after 30 seconds, ideally, but so do we know what that is? And that's an Aleph. So you want to know if you're right or not, click on this.
Aleph.
And now you can go to the next one. And if you said
Mem,
then you are correct. And you could click anywhere on here and it'll advance it to the next one. Oh, that's one of the ones we did today.
Pheh Sofit.
Now I'm going to say
Pheh.
Pheh Sofit, which is the Hebrew word for final Pheh. And so you could run through this. This is going to be all of the Aleph Bet. It's going to be vowels. Sometimes they're hard to tell which ones they are in that. But I also have another set here. So this one's already advanced one because it's been more than 30 seconds. But this is syllables and some small words. So this one says la. So you click on it.
La.
And you knew it was la. And then you click here and you get narrow nose nun with an ah, and that should sound like na.
Na.
Excellent. And you can practice toe. So all of this is here. And then you can go back to the basic Aleph Bet page, because the first time we did this, that's where it comes back to. And this one has, if you remember, whoop, go this way. This one has lots of practicing things. It's got the aerobics, and it's got each one of these is a lessoning page, whatever. It's got all kinds of fun stuff. And I'll show you another fun thing. I think I've got two other fun things here that you may not have noticed. So down here, so the animated writing page, we've looked at how to draw the letters, you know, there's an animation, but lessons from Akhla. I found this decades ago, and I mean, which means not like 400 years ago, but this was a fun website. And let's see, so this is the Aleph Bet with different fonts and things. But if we go to Hebrew and not Aleph Bet, let's see, come on. There's dictionary, there's games that you can play and things. So I have fun with this site. You can play around on there. I realized that I haven't played with it recently because some of these were done in Flash and Flash doesn't exist anymore. It was too much of a risk. And then we have this. You see this little thing here? You're not supposed to even see it. It's actually 2 spaces that I turned into a link. And it looks a little like a smiley face. But this is a sneaky, oh, no, that's not sneaky. That's just the vidui. Why is that just the vidui? I was trying to show you sneaky things. So this is the prayer. No, let's go back to the home page and I'll show you my sneaky thing. This one, the smiley face on the home page, that's a sneaky thing. So this was, I had made during the pandemic over the summer, I made a prayer book, a comic book club, a Hebrew comic book club for the kids. And so we had these sneaky ways of getting onto the website that no one else was allowed to know about. And that was the way to get on here. The same publishing company that puts out the textbook that we use for biblical Hebrew and for prayer book Hebrew also has 3 comic books in prayer book Hebrew. So this guy's name is Og Harasha, which means Og the Terrible. You read the pages from right to left. So if you click on a page, whoop, no, come on. If you click on the page, you're supposed to be able to hear it. Let's see, it says, hear the comic book by clicking on it. Not that, you're supposed to double. Yeah, I didn't double click. The kids read all of the parts to this thing and it was really fun. And that was part of what the comic book club was. So, dun, 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 dun. And then
Ani Og Arasha.
So anyway, there's a slideshow of it and we had fun with it and that was good. There's also somewhere along here, I think maybe you could see the video of it. No, that's the whole book. You're not supposed to know. And we acted it out. But somewhere here, you're also supposed to see the link to I did a version of that book with, I was teaching at the Christian Center Montessori School. And we did a version of the book called, instead of Og Harasha, we called him Budrag Harasha. It was Og's cousin from Louisiana. And he tried to steal every Hanukkah menorah ba'olam in the whole world. And the kids wrote it and the kids acted it out and they read all the parts and it was really fun. So it's one of the ways that that I try to teach kids Hebrew. But you know all the letters now. You should be able to read anything we throw in front of you. So anybody have questions? We're kind of good. I'm going to